bro, you have to take this. It'll make you feel great. Adrian, stop being a little girl and just drink with us for once. How can you even have fun if you don't drink or smoke? Bro, you won't enjoy it there. You'll regret going if you're not effed up. These are the kind of remarks that I get at these music festivals, as well as at St. Mark's every weekend. You know what I have to say to these remarks? I say, bullshit. You're telling me that I can't have an amazing experience unless I'm under the influence of some sort of drugs? You're telling me that when your self-esteem goes tank, turning to drugs is the best answer? I think not. By raise of hands, how many of you here think that you cannot go to Ticker sober? Or, or how many of you here have never been to Ticker completely sober? Why is that? Is it because you lack the confidence? Is it because you think that you look like the oddball in your group of friends? Or maybe you just have bad friends and alcohol is the way to get away from their crowd. You see, just as the TikTok, the electronic dance community faces subliminal peer pressure. And these pressures come in all shapes and sizes. But before we can deal with peer pressure, we need to understand what is going on inside these communities. More specifically, we need to understand how ravers are being influenced by these peer pressures. Well, with all the stress young people in general have, if they're not equipped to deal with stress, it makes them more likely to find an alternative stress reliever. And this is why many choose to pick up drugs with their friends. It is not only to be cool or to be an adult, but it's because they think it feels necessary. And these are the problems that make the use of drugs in my community so demanding. Therefore, in order to protect ravers from these types of peer pressure, they need to be equipped with positive self-esteem, unconditional love, acceptance, and knowledge on the substance. And that brings up the question, how do we combat peer pressure and the use of drugs in these communities? Before I can continue, I would like to say that peer pressure itself is very hard to tackle, and it is best dealt in the early years of one's life, where parents must teach and raise their children in ways that minimizes the pressure of others. But then, if peer pressure is unfixable, how would I solve the problem of drug use? I remember as a kid, what impacted me the most was a program called DARE. DARE stands for Drug Abuse Resistance and Education. It is a drug abuse prevention education program designed to equip elementary and junior high school children with knowledge about drug abuse, the consequences of abuse, the skills for resisting peer pressure. It's a cooperative effort by police, schools, parents, and the community, all four working together to help children make the right choices concerning drug use. Their focuses majority of the time on four major areas. One is providing accurate information about drugs, alcohol, and tobacco. Two is teaching students good decision-making skills. Three is showing students how to recognize and resist peer pressure. Four is giving students ideas for positive alternatives to drug use. DARE works with children to raise their self-esteem and to teach them how to make good decisions on their own and helping them to identify a positive alternative to drugs. According to a 2007 survey by the Canadian government, it showed that 90% of over 5,000 kids felt that their program have helped them decide against using drugs in the future. And 99% of over 3,000 parents felt that their children benefited from the program. So now that we know what can be done to help children in their earlier years, I would like to discuss two other policies for the EDM community and others like it. I have two suggestions. First, we can call for the regulation of drugs by the government, and second, we can supply drug testing tents at these festivals to make sure the drugs are pure and haven't been tampered with. According to the Office of National Drug Control Policy, drug use affects every sector of society, straining our economy, our healthcare, and criminal justice system, thus endangering the futures of young people. Therefore, having a drug regulated policy will impose extra tax and certain restrictions on its use. For example, it'll impose an age limit, health warnings, and specific permits for sellers. The idea behind this is to reduce the use of drugs by increasing its costs and restricting its availability without criminalizing the user. So this policy accepts that communities such as these will be, communities like these will be using the drugs, and the government can find a way to make profit off of these drug use. And this brings me to point number two. The events would have to supply drug testing venues to ensure that drugs being used are safe. Having this would provide statistics on the amount of each drug that is being used, and in turn will help each event regulate the use of drugs better in the future. According to the Drug Abuse Quarterly Monitoring Project report, THC level in marijuana supply has grown from 1.37% in 1978 to 8.49% in 2008. This is a 500% increase. However, in the event that this does not pass, then if and when the government fails to prevent the use of its prohibited drugs, it will create expensive and social destructive problems of enforcement, causing the government to spend enormous amount of money trying to prevent the use of drugs instead of actually making money off the use of drugs through legalization. So, in conclusion, if you would like to support the legalization of drugs and the supply of drug inspection tents, the National Drug Control Strategy is a useful resource for anyone interested in learning what is being done or what others can be, or what others are doing in stopping the production of drugs, the trafficking of drugs, and preventing the use of it. And you can find the National Drug Control Strategy on Google by simply typing in NDC strategy. Thank you.